So now it is my great pleasure to introduce our CEO, Scott Becker. I took 4 minutes. I almost took all the
Good morning. So to all of these faces standing around us, how many of you have been to IPE training? So what's our message? It's all about you. Thank you so much for being here today. It is such an exciting day. Let me put in perspective. Almost 125 years ago, after what was at that point in time the greatest natural disaster in the history of the United States, the Johnstown flood, Clara Barton and a team of people came to Johnstown with a vision of health ministry, and a couple of years later, with the help of citizens of this community, birthed Memorial Medical Center. Today, 125 years later, a group of community-minded citizens came together to birth an organization for its next 125 years. So to all of you today, we thank you so much for being here. On behalf of our board, our physicians, and all of you that are here, we can't thank you enough. You are going to meet some incredible partners today, and the reason they're here is because of you. So at this point in time, it's my honor to call the chairman of our board to the podium to tell you all about this new deal that we're about to talk about. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Ron Vickroy, who is the chairman of the Conemaugh Health System Board, to come and share this exciting news with you today. So Ron.
Oh, boy. Wow. This is what they call a wow moment. Really it is. I'm going to be reading from the script today because I know we're concerned about time, and that's an issue. But today is not a banner day, as I told Ann Hancock, but really it is a historic day here in Johnstown. And I'm truly honored to be the one to deliver this great news on behalf of the Conemaugh Health System and its leadership. Interestingly enough, about 20 plus years ago, some of you may recall a gentleman who was my hero by the name of Jack Crichton. Jack basically recruited me to the Conemaugh Health System because they were just starting it at that point in time. And the vision at that time, and I recall asking Jack, what's the vision of this particular institution? He said, well, the vision is to grow and strengthen healthcare in this region. That's what we're all about. Well, today we're going to do just that, especially with our partners, okay? And I know that Jack and others are looking down on this day and they're smiling. After a very thorough and deliberate strategic planning process, and I can't overemphasize that, to determine how best to serve our region for generations to come, we are, and I am thoroughly excited about this. And I feel so bad because I'm a little bit sick, so I'm kind of fist bumping everybody and all that kind of stuff, and I really love to hug you. I was up at 2 o'clock this morning. I'm excited to announce a board's decision to partner with Duke LifePoint Healthcare. Duke LifePoint Healthcare. Duke LifePoint Healthcare is an innovative joint venture of Duke University Health System and LifePoint Hospitals. The organization draws on Duke University's top-ranked, and believe me, I did a little bit of research on this, their top ranking in patient safety, quality, and education programs. And obviously, LifePoint's financial resources, operational resources, and their expertise. So it is unique in that sense. As a matter of fact, we haven't run into too many that fit that particular category. We're thrilled to be joined today by the leaders of both Duke University Medical Center, Dr. Bill Fulkerson, and LifePoint Hospital's Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Bill Carpenter. They've also been accompanied by members of their teams, and they will be introducing them a little bit later to you. Earlier this morning, Conemaugh and Duke LifePoint signed a letter of intent for Duke LifePoint to acquire our system. Now, this would include our 3 hospitals, that being Myersdale Medical Center, Miners Medical Center, and of course our tertiary engine here, Flagship Memorial Medical Center. All of the outpatient centers and the Conemaugh Physician Group practice. And as part of this transaction, Duke LifePoint commits to invest, you ready for this? More than $500 million. This is great for me to say. I mean, I'm going to say it again. $500 million is coming into this community. We're going to grow the Conemaugh health system and the communities, okay, in a variety of different ways. This decision didn't come overnight. I can tell you the board of directors, and many of them are here today, have been examining the environment of healthcare for the last 3 to 5 years. I'm serious about that, the last 3 to 5 years. Today's agreement is a result of literally months of thorough research to understand how we should best approach the strategic direction for this organization. This was due in a large part to the leadership, and I think you all know who we're talking about here, Mr. Scott Becker. And his management team, who encouraged the board in our development of education, understanding what was going on. And I think that's extremely important. So thank you, Scott, management team, and thank you all of the employees of the Conemaugh Health System. Lastly, I'd like to thank every one of our board members for the countless hours, and I mean countless hours, that they have put into arriving at this decision. By the way, the board decision, and I was not here. I was on my way back from Florida, where I was doing a little work down there, obviously. You all know what I was doing down there. But I would like to introduce them personally. I would like them to stand until I'm completely done, because I've got a couple other words that I'd like to say about them as a group. So lest I miss anybody, let me run through it. James Cassio, where's Jim? Jim is our vice chairman of the board and also part of the integration committee. Kim Craig, was Kim here? I didn't see Kim today. He's on the road quite a bit. He is the chief executive officer of FNB Wealth Management. Our board secretary, Dr. Pat Sirotkin. St. Francis University, our CEO, obviously, Mr. Scott Becker. Doug Bell, is Doug here? Doug is here. He is an attorney at law. He's also a magistrate, is that right, Doug? Over there in Somerset County. Dr. Kristen Brandt, is Dr. Brandt in? Kristen, great lady. She is a physician as well with ENT. Jim Hargraves, Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, and former chair, who brought us through this process, and I'm going to tell you, I was glad to have these guys right there, okay, without question. He was part of our integrating committee, and he had some interesting thoughts on how we should approach things. Nate Kaufman, who isn't here today, is one of the members who is from outside the area. He's from outside, he's from San Diego, has his own consulting firm, is that correct? And a great guy. He kind of kept us up to speed on what was happening nationally. Dr. Brian Lieb, family practice physician, chair, CPG Physician Group. You all know Brian, also a member of our integrating committee. Dr. Adib Kazami, where's Adib? I know I saw him earlier. Is he around? He was around, I did see him. And many of you know Dr. Kazami. He's a gynae physician, OB. A gentleman who was very, very important to the integrating committee and currently chairs our hospital system, hospital board. Frank Quittoni, president of Peak Media. John Saracena. I don't see John here today, but John, you all know, is the managing partner at Barnes & Solly. Sally Sargent. Sally here today? Sally Sargent, who's the president of Sargent's Personnel Agency. I saw this gentleman in the back in a white coat. Dr. Richard Schrader, Western Pennsylvania Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Thank you, Dr. Schrader. Michael Smith. Mike, I saw Mike. Mike is a great guy. I mean, he's a great person to have on the board. President of Laurel Auto Group, If you're not familiar with him, you're not watching enough TV, right, Mike? Dr. Richard Wozniak, okay, kind of my go-to guy right here. GME, continuing, I mean, just on and on and on. I could go on and on with that guy. Now, why did I have them stand? Well, I suggest to you that they've been very, very important in making this decision, but I would also like to thank them in advance for the countless hours more that it will take to get the partnership formally completed and off the ground. So thank you again. I appreciate everything that you've done. This next part will be brief, I promise. Now, I'd like to take a few minutes to walk through how we arrived at today's announcement. As many of you know, the way healthcare is delivered is changing like it's never has before. I can remember telling my students more than a year ago that healthcare is the most complex industry that I've ever been associated with, that I've ever seen. When we talk about federal regulation, I can think of only one other industry that may be as regulated, okay, and that is the nuclear power industry. While Conemaugh is recognized for clinical and operational excellence, we, like other systems across the country, are facing our own challenges, including a big one, increasing capital needs, reimbursement cuts, changing patient volumes, and obviously much, much more. Despite these challenges, our board, and again I thank them, has continued with the bold vision that was set aside many, many years ago to expand clinical services, to grow our educational efforts, to invest in our region, and to make sure that patients we serve have access to excellent, affordable care for years to come. In order to fulfill this vision and to position our system in the era of healthcare, the Conemaugh Board embarked on a strategic planning process with a healthcare specialized investment banking firm known as Juniper Advisory. I believe they're located out in Chicago somewhere, to determine the right path for Conemaugh. So we engaged them as a third party in the process that they developed, and I use that term process and suggest to you that it was excellent, truly excellent. Ultimately, through this process, we realized that with a like-minded partner, we can be stronger and can achieve our vision faster. Now, I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, okay? I can recall being down in Duke in January, and it was right after, since we're such a sports-oriented group, sports-oriented town, we were down at Duke, and it was in January, right after the Pitt game. You guys remember that? Pitt, Duke? Yeah. Yeah, well, I know Dr. Fulkerson remembers it. But we were assessing, we were conducting what is called reverse due diligence or reverse research, and we were trying to determine cultural fit. I left it basically to the financial guys to make a determination how things were going to work financially. But I was more concerned about cultural fit. And I can tell you this, and when I walked in and we heard about Pitt, and one thing led to another, next thing you know, we started talking basketball. And of course, there's a few jags that kind of went around the office. I can tell you this, you've heard of Cameron Crazies down at Duke? Well, I'll tell you what, Duke Healthcare, the individuals, the team members from down there, and we will hear Bill introduce them for us a little bit later, Dr. Fulkerson, that is. He will attest to the fact that Duke is the greatest team ever. And of course, we get into this little, well, they're fervent about their basketball down here, Cameron Crazies. But I'll tell you this, okay, they're even more fervent and they're even more passionate about healthcare. That excites me. I knew immediately we had a great fit here. We had a great fit culturally. Now, we're still relatively early in our process, and we'll now enter a time of additional due diligence or research, if you like, determine the exact terms of the partnership, but pending review by state authorities and subject to customary closing conditions, transactions expected to close sometime in late 2014. Thank you all for being here, for your support of Conemaugh Health System. I now turn it over to Scott to talk more about the benefits of this great partnership. Scotty.
Hey, Ron, give me Knuckles instead. Okay, here we go.